If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It feels official now. We can say it. The summer is here. The equinox, the solstice has happened. The summer solstice has happened. NBA and NHL are over, so we kind of have a chance to breathe. Getting ready for, I think it's about 3 weeks now until teams start reporting back for camp, and we'll have some preseason. We'll have more deals to talk about. We will talk more about the NFL as the summer goes on, but we have some things to wrap up. We haven't talked about the. I don't think that we got to talk about. We haven't talked about Game 7 at all. And then we touched on Connor McDavid a little bit. And then obviously now Kevin Durant got traded. And Nico's getting ready to go back out on the road in PLL. So we're recording this. If you're watching on Thursday, this is from a couple days ago. But honestly, now I feel like we can kind of do these things where news isn't going to come out and we don't have to worry about whether or not we're getting behind. But how's it feel? I back to work after the bye week. We ready for the trip?
Yeah, I mean, look, as you're saying this, I'm in sunny San Diego and in the heat next to the ocean. Probably will be dunking in the ocean a handful of times next couple of days. But yeah, look, home weekend's always so much fun, and especially being in San Diego. Like, there's not the only other place I would love to have been at a place longer is Denver, because I live here. So like, I'm not gonna complain. But San Diego is awesome. It's beautiful. The stadium is beautiful. The fans are great. We play on ESPN on Saturday at middle of the day, which is awesome. This will be a lot of fun. So if you own a TV, you own cable, you own YouTube TV, you'll be able to watch us play on ESPN. So it'll be very exciting. And yeah, like I said, it's a great crowd. We have two big games against the Water Dogs on Saturday, and then on Friday we got the Outlaws, who have won 3 in a row now, or 2 in a row, excuse me. So should be 2 really fun, great games. I can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those matchups and some of the other games. We'll look at the standings like we normally do during PLL season. That'll be at the end. We also have UFC to talk about. Superior versus Oliveira is this weekend, and we're also getting into our top 5 least favorite athletes to watch. And I have to say that very
It's
carefully
hater
because
season. It's hater
yeah,
season. It's hater season. Okay. I almost
it's
I almost didn't let you finish your state because you'll see our list later on. But Jimmy said his favorite list, and I was like, I don't think this works, Jimmy. Like, none of these are
I
fit
hate
the
watching
mold
Wyatt
here.
Hendrickson. I can't stand it. And no.
You can't stand the Western guy, the running back. You can't stand your
Austin
dad's
Eckler, yeah.
friend Shane. Yeah, you can't stand any of them.
No, we just had parties dedicated to watching Shane Carwood beat the fuck out of people. That was a lot of fun. No, it's least favorite athletes, and I should have read that more carefully. It's hard with the dust in your eyes and everything like that. Let's get into the NBA championship. The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions for the first time in franchise history. They take out Indiana following. I mean, if you watch ESPN, I don't know if you know this, Nico, but Tyrese Halliburton blew his Achilles. He blew his Achilles.
Didn't know. I had no
blew his
idea.
Achilles.
Never knew.
It popped. It right here.
Oh, it did? I didn't see
and
it.
we're gonna
I
and
did?
look back and here we go. We actually have the replay at ESPN. It was gracious, and I'm kidding. That was let's start there because the handling of injuries, I felt like it was getting better for a long time. It's come a long way from. I mean, I remember them. I've watched the Willis McGahee highlight, and they did the same thing where they go ahead and watch it in slow motion, and you see his entire leg get bent in half when he's at Miami. It had been getting better, but this was a case where, like, I don't know what was going on in the truck. I don't know if this was that. It's tough.
If it wasn't the injury, it was Halliburton screaming in pain on the ground. It was one of the 2 shots. Every 5 minutes, because they had to tell you, oh, this is why this game isn't as entertaining as it should have been. Every 5 minutes, they had to tell you. It was. Look, I'll cook ESPN later in our segments, but I was so frustrated the whole season long because, look, this was the most televised or the most watched NBA Finals game in I believe 6 years since the KD versus Toronto series, and like like obviously something happened there as well. The injury happened there as well, but like
it was
the
same
life
situation. Wow.
same situation. It's wild, but the life got sucked out of that building. I mean, not when I say sucked out of that building, I'm not saying Oklahoma City fans, because boy, did they capitalize on it totally. But Pacers fans, it was a long shot from the very beginning, and they had a lead at one point. I think they were either down by one or up by one at the end of the half, and Halliburton had 9 points in 7 minutes. He was cooking 3 threes. You could tell it was one of those games, and it's just he knew what the risk was, and you could not tell a player you're not going again in the one chance to win it all. Right? No other sport, no other professional athlete will say, if I can't go, I'm not going to go. Like Halliburton knew what the risk was. He had been battling this injury for the last couple of games, right? He knew what the injury risk was because it happened to 4 or 5 other players, happened to 3 players this postseason alone in Tatum, Lillard, and now obviously Halliburton. Like he knew what the risk was, and frankly, like I don't blame him the one bit. It sucks though because, like I said, the timing of the injury, first quarter, right as Halliburton was getting hot, the Pacers looked like they had all the energy, like they're coming out, and then it just happens, and you just see the look on all the Pacers' faces, like this is going to be like they tried hard, but this is going to be a tall task.
It seemed like at this point, it seems like we have to start evaluating, calf strain. Maybe you only have a
Three
Achilles
tears in the playoffs is pretty bad. Like,
yeah,
I know we talk about load
it's
management and all that, but like, I mean, like the shortening the regular season, shortening the playoffs is hurting. Like, look what the Eastern Conference is going to deal with next year. No Dame, no Tatum, no Halliburton. Who the hell's going to come out of these? Cavs, our friends in Ohio, this is your best shot you have next year. Like, seriously. These guys who injured themselves in the playoffs are going to be out at least 10 to 12 months. 10 to 12 months is the playoffs next year. So, like, it's that's rough.
It was rough. Not to take everything away from Oklahoma City, they were the number 1 seed. They had one of the better regular seasons. I do think that the way this final series went, we can put to rest the conversations that we were having earlier on in the series as one of the most dominant playoff runs that we've seen. I wouldn't say it's the most dominant when you had 2 Game 7s, and it took their best player at the time and the guy that was going to possibly emotionally will them to victory like he had in Game 6, because we talked about it last week. Game 6 was a master performance by Indiana. I looked like a total idiot because I was on Ohio Sports like, oh, this thing is over. I think it ends tonight, and it didn't end that night. I just feel like, with Oklahoma City, great season, awesome that you won your title, but the way that this series went and the way the NBA is trending, that conversation we were having about the possibility of multiple championships, them being one of the most dominant teams, I think those conversations are firmly put to rest. Congratulations on your title, but it wasn't as dominant as you think it is and as dominant as you're going to tell people. Because Oklahoma City fans are going to say
it's not as dominant the last 2. I'll tell you that much. We lost 4 games in total. 4 games in total on the way to the championship. 16-4. They lost 9. Obviously, look. This is I see way too many people saying this is a Mickey Mouse ring because the injuries, whatever. Oklahoma City was the best team all season long. I told you from I think the preseason show we talked about the NBA. When we talked about the who the best team is in the NBA, I said it was Boston and Oklahoma City. I said it was going to be a 2-man race between those two. Boston had the injuries. Oklahoma City showed why they're the best team all season. And look, I cannot emphasize this enough. As much as Shea gets on my nerves the way he plays and the calls he gets and the way they do things, they were the best 1 through 15 team in basketball this year, and there's zero denying that. And there's zero denying that. It doesn't matter who got injured, who they faced, how they went through things, right? Every team that wins a championship gets a couple bounces go their way, a couple things get lucky their way, right? We didn't face a seed lower than the 4 seed and Pats winning the NBA Finals, right? Boston had a lot of injuries in the Eastern Conference that they got to walk through, and Dallas was limping into the finals, right? Like you go down a list of teams, every team that's won a championship outside of maybe the 70-12 or 72-10 Bulls face adversity and face teams that basically they probably shouldn't have beat, but they did because of a few bounces here and there, right? And look, Oklahoma City, I cannot emphasize this enough. Every single aspect of their game was built to win this, and very, very different than how the Florida Panthers won this championship. Oklahoma City built this from the ground up. They were a team that won 24 games last year. 24, or not last year, 2 years ago. 24 games 2 years ago. 24 games 2 years ago. This team had every single one of their players either drafted or traded for, not signed a free agency yet, right? Caruso was the most recent deal. Shea, in one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history, it was the add-on piece to the Paul George trade that sent Paul George over to the Los Angeles Clippers. Look how that ended up, right? Chet Holmgren, top 2 pick. Jalen Williams, top 12 pick, right? Guys that obviously are young teams, and Dagnall as well, a guy that was been around the G League for a couple of years and never really had a shot in the NBA, got a chance for it. Is it frustrating that a team in the Western Conference won? Yeah, it is. Like, I'm not going to deny that. It sucks because we lost to them at the same time. It's very annoying, but it's not like it's the Lakers at all. It's not like this is a big city. This is Oklahoma City that has never won a championship. This is Oklahoma City that has dealt with tornado infrastructure, had shootings, had lots of other problems that has been in their city for a long time, right? That championship means everything to that city because Oklahoma is known for one thing, Jimmy. And what is it?
Wrestling.
That and the Oklahoma Sooners.
I was going to say wrestling, tornadoes.
The Oklahoma Sooners. It is. They live and die. The Oklahoma Sooners live and die. And then the Thunder come in. I believe it was 2009, maybe 2010, somewhere around there. Maybe 2000. I can't remember the exact year. Come in as the first professional franchise. No basketball, no hockey, no baseball. And look, they obviously. Do I think this team is the best Oklahoma City team to ever come out? No. I still think that Harden, Westbrook, Durant team, Steven Adams, Ibaka still beats this team in 5 games. But circumstances come to circumstances, and that team faced the big 3 in Miami, and this team got to face the Pacers with an injury, right? So, look, it was a hell of a series. I was very happy with how the series went outside of the ending to the game and ending to the season. Because if the season ended with Halliburton playing on the floor and Oklahoma City just dominating, I'd be like, you know what? That's a hell of a game. And we would have probably had a much closer game the way things are going in those first 5 minutes or 9 minutes, excuse me. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating that's the end of the season, the way it ended. But there's zero denying and zero doubt that Oklahoma City deserved this because they were the best team all season. They had one of the best players, if not, and arguably the best player, the only player, or one of, I believe it's 7 players in NBA history to win MVP in the same season or regular season MVP as finals MVP. I think the last one was, I believe, this is correct. The last one was LeBron back in 2012. So it's been 13 years. So it's a hell of an accomplishment, and Shea's a one-of-a-kind player, and Oklahoma City was a damn good team.
Yeah, I think, too, I also have to correct myself because it was corrected on the show that I listened to and was reporting on. The Caitlin Clark return didn't draw more than the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals didn't do well in comparison to the NFL and things like that, what they like to compare themselves to, but it also did much better than the NHL Finals did. And I feel like it was more competitive, obviously, because of the Game 7, but even within the games, there was a lot more competitiveness. Edmonton never really had a chance this year. That was a buzzsaw. It's cool because now we have a dynasty in the NHL. What was interesting about that, and we can kind of move to the way the game ended, because I saw a video that put all of them next to each other, the most recent World Series, most recent Super Bowl, most recent Stanley Cup, and then Oklahoma City in their Game 7 winning their first NBA championship. It was almost like, oh, cool, they won another game. There wasn't really all that much pageantry put into it. There was no confetti. There was no storming of the court. Everything was very tame. I get that you want to act like you've been there before, but you haven't. You can celebrate a little bit. Everybody celebrates. That's the best thing about when the Stanley Cup final ends. It's everybody chucking their gloves and running, chasing the goalie, pushing the net out to the back of the boards. NBA, I put it in there in the title kind of as clickbait, but it's a legitimate question. The NBA title kind of lost its aura.
I would say aura. I think teams have just come to look. The NBA. Basketball does this more than any other sport. It's like players are defined by championships. No other sport is it that way. Baseball doesn't do that. Hockey doesn't do that. Obviously, you think they have one, right? NFL doesn't do that, right? You are defined by how many championships you win in basketball. It's the only sport it is that way. Soccer may be the only one, but it's the only sport in major 4 sports in America where winning an NBA title is a mandatory need for you to be a great player, great whatever, right? It is seen more as a relief as it is as an achievement. Unfortunately, that's the biggest problem with the NBA right now, right? I think back when LeBron won the championship his first time in Miami, right? He was going nuts. Nuggets were going nuts. Boston was going nuts. Golden State was halfway there, right? It's more an achievement and relief of winning than it is celebration, and maybe it goes to the It also, I think, it also affects us this way. It's like Oklahoma City is one of the youngest teams in the league. They didn't have guys that have waited outside. They didn't have guys, anyone on the roster that has waited more than 5 years, playing the NBA more than 5 years and not won a championship. Caruso was I believe, is the longest NBA tenured player on there. He won a championship already, right?
Yeah.
So like it's an entirely different way of thinking and different way of doing that. And I see that. I saw that video and I think it's very fair, the celebrations and the differences. But I also do think that the NBA has gotten so caught up on, if you don't win 5 championships, you're not fucking GOAT status. You're not a top 5 player in the world, right? That is literally the conversation, and it's a sickening that we've come that way. But winning a championship, it was a relief to Oklahoma City. They were the best team all season. They were the number 1 seed. They had home court in Game 7. It wasn't this like I remember Cleveland when they won that championship. Remember how nuts they went, right? How nuts they went for Cleveland. They came back from 3-1. They weren't supposed to win that series. Oklahoma City was supposed to win that series at home and in shorter time. And it was more of a relief. And that's why the pageantry of everything. Because when you win something a first time thinking you have no idea, you have no shot, look at the March Madness, for instance. Look at March Madness, the reactions to the teams that upset a 12 seed beating a 5 seed, or 15 seed beating a 2 seed, right? And look at the reactions of the 8 seed beating the 9 seed, or the 7 beating the 10. It's a lot different. It's a lot different when the expectations are a lot higher and you're expected to do much better.
It's, to me, as if I saw that as a fan, that it is what it is. I wouldn't necessarily love to see that because they haven't won. Like people, I would get that feeling because that's what they talk a lot about in the '98 season with the Broncos. It was more relief because they had the better regular season. They'd already won the championship. They were expected to go back to back. The expectations were there, but like you still had to win. It feels a little bit like they were putting the cart before the horse, but it's how they handled it. And I can't really say too much else because they won and they did it in the way that they were supposed to, where they closed out a game pretty easily on home court. All their starters got to have a nice little curtain call. And their fans, I wish, I don't know. Well, how do you feel about the whole Sonics fans not being Thunder fans or being Thunder fans? Because I know.
I don't think they should. I'm frankly, if it was the Oklahoma City Sonics, I think it's different, and I think the differences compared to other teams is entirely it's not true because the team literally moved halfway across the country. Seattle to Oklahoma City is halfway across the country, right? Like Oakland moved 1 state over to Vegas. People who live in Oakland can drive 5 hours to Las Vegas and go watch their team play, right? Like it's not like a crazy world. If people live in Seattle, do not get to watch their team play. And I this is why I hated the way they I mean, I have a lot to hate on how they did the post game celebrations, but they said first championship in the OKC area. It's the first championship in Oklahoma City's history. Why are we saying era? I understand the Sonics won in '79 or whatever the hell it was, like way back when. Like I understand that. I'm sorry, like everyone that's a Sonic fan back then are not Thunder fans right now, and this is an entirely new world and new thing for Oklahoma City. So look, it's very cool for the state of Oklahoma City. It's very cool for the state of Oklahoma too because it's a flyover state. It would have been cool for the same thing with Indiana. I just think it's just rubbish that people are hating on. I mean, Sonics fans can do whatever the hell they want. They don't have a team anymore, but I highly doubt they won't have a team. Again, I have another team in my lifetime because they probably will be one of the next expansion teams. So it's just frustrating.
Last thing for basketball, and it kind of goes on with the way the season ended. Could shake things up. I guess we'll get your thoughts because you would be the basketball expert of the show. The Durant trade, he gets moved to Houston. He'll be now a Rocket. Does this change anything for the Western Conference? Does this change?
Yeah.
Oh,
big time. Absolutely big time. I look at what Houston gave up in that trade. Jalen Green, who was a playoff slumper, right? Very good young player, playoff slumper. Houston didn't have to get rid of Reed Shepard, didn't have to give up Cam Whitmore, didn't have to give up Jabari Smith, didn't have to get rid of Alperen Sengun. This is the number 2 seed in the Western Conference last year. And they didn't even have to give up a first-round pick. They gave up, they gave their first round this year up, which is the 10th overall pick. But you tell me I get rid of a playoff slumper, the 10th overall pick next year, and 5 second-round picks for a Hall of Famer added to a team that was a top seed in the Western Conference last year? This makes Houston very, very good. And I understand that KD was on a bad team in Phoenix. It was not his fault. It was not his fault. In Phoenix, there's a lot of other shit going on. But I think this is a great trade for Houston. Phoenix has 8 guys in the roster that they play the position point guard or shooting guard. And that's literally it. It's crazy. That roster is so depleted and so horrible right now. But yeah, I think it's a great move. I think it's going to help Houston a lot next year. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how much KD can still be the number 1 guy on a championship roster. He hasn't won a championship in 6 years or 7 years, excuse me, and been the focal point. So it's been a very long time since he's been the focal point on a championship roster. But I do think Houston has what it takes to still be a very strong contender in the West. This is another reason why I continue to say the Oklahoma City Thunder have a better chance of not making the NBA Finals next year than going back-to-back, because how much the West is going to get better and better and better. And like this Durant trade, it's a trickle effect. We are in store for the wildest NBA offseason I think I've ever seen. Wilder than the LeBron decision. I'm going to be honest with you. We are in the last 48 hours, or excuse me, since game 7 on Sunday, we've had Kevin Durant get traded to Rockets. We had Drew Holiday get sent from Boston to Portland for Anthony Simons going back. We had Kristaps Porzingis get sent an hour before recording this, getting sent down to Atlanta. Boston is making so many moves. Jaylen Brown is apparently available now as well. Like Giannis' free agency is looming. These like people are realizing this is your fucking chance. If you're a halfway contender, this is your chance. And this makes me even more frustrated because we have a team that is a strong contender that is deciding to not name a general manager and have 2 president of operation play guys, and Ben Tenzer, and I don't even know what the fuck the other guy's name is. But don't worry, I'll get to that here in a little bit. But it's very, very, very interesting in how wide open this summer is going to be, because there could be so much movement. I'm serious. There could be so much movement.
Is this the last team Kevin Durant plays for? Or is he going to be on another team after his Houston stint?
That's like telling a guy who just broke up with his girlfriend. So are you gonna go date another girl? Like, I don't think so, but it hurts a lot. But yeah, I probably will. Like that's probably how it will go. I don't know. Like I would say
they'll have one season where he love bombs them. The second season he'll start showing his patterns. I feel like the cycle will repeat itself.
Like I said, I tweeted this out. He'll be the only top 15 player in NBA history that won't have his jersey retired anywhere. And our boys at Fat Boy Fadeaway, they had a great point. That's probably the only chance. And he did win 2 Finals MVPs there. So like that's the only chance really that he has in getting his jersey retired. And they're already retiring 4 of those jerseys, 4 players' jerseys from that team. Are you going to add a 5th? Because they retired Iggy. They're going to retire Steph. They'll retire Clay, and they'll retire Draymond. Does KD fit into that mold? I don't think so.
Speaking of guys that move, we'll talk about now in the NHL. This has kind of been the big news since the Stanley Cup final finish. Free agency for the NHL does start Tuesday on July 1st is when the NHL free agency period will start. Connor McDavid's not a free agent this year, but he is in the last year of his contract. And after his post-game comments following Game 7, it is not looking like a 7-year, 8-year contract is going to be on the horizon unless he really thinks that Stan
If he
Bowman is
doesn't
going
care
to.
about winning a championship, he'll say
Well,
no.
yeah, doesn't care about winning a championship, but I feel like what right now, what's got to be going through his mind, what's got to be having all the Edmonton fans hanging on is like, well, Stan Bowman got hired in August, so we'll see what he does with this team. He's built championship teams before, and maybe McDavid will like what he's doing enough to stick around for longer than a shorter amount of time. It's not necessarily like if the contract, I don't know, I don't think that it'll be done before the season. I don't think that he's going to re-sign going into the season. I think that he would take that bet on himself, and we'll go from there. But even if he doesn't sign before this season, I do still think there's a good chance that he would sign in Edmonton. I just think that not 8 years. He's probably going to give himself a couple-year window, and then maybe he'll be on the move then. But it is now a possibility if they don't see a future on the horizon, he could end up getting traded somewhere because you can't really let him go for nothing. So what is most likely for Connor McDavid's future? Is it a shorter deal, 3 years maybe in Edmonton? That was what I was hearing floated around in some of the shows I like to listen to. Is he just not going to? Is he just going to move on, wash his hands in it? What are you thinking based on? This kind of seems like a conversation we normally have with him every time his contract is coming around.
I mean, I think the conversation has to be brought up about getting rid of him. Like you have to have the conversations this summer have to go very well for Edmonton. They have to go very, very well. At any time you have a superstar that is first 1 year out of contract, you don't let him hit free agency. You don't, especially the level of Connor McDavid's play. You don't let him hit that, and it's either A, you get rid of him, or B, you sign him. And the thing is with Edmonton, it's like there has to be substantial moves this summer, or he'll be in a situation where he'll be a middle of pack team in the Western Conference again next year. They'll have probably another good playoff run, but but at the trade deadline, do you make the decision? Still haven't signed him. We're a middle of the pack team, probably going to make a deep run in the playoffs, but does this team have enough? And then if the answer is no, you have to consider trading him, because if you don't consider trading him, he'll walk. He'll walk. And he is the level of talent that if you let him walk, you will not recover for a long time, a very, very long time, unless he does the LeBron thing and wins a championship somewhere else and then comes back like, I'm coming home. Like you do not let a player that's the last, I think, number one player, like, or maybe KD goes up in that conversation too when he left Golden State. You do not let those kind of players walk. And if Edmonton's smart, you have to realize what your flaws are, and they haven't realized what their flaws are. That's the biggest problem they've run into, is like they continually covering bullet holes with Band-Aids by saying, well, we have the two best players in the world. Well, we have Draisaitl. Well, we have McDavid. But our defense can't stop a puck from flying in. Our goalie doesn't know when to hold
a defense,
on to
by the way, that
a
defense that they have 10 million, 20. They're going to have $20 million invested in that defense if they want to keep Bouchard with Nurse, because Nurse makes 9. Bouchard's going to have to make 10 in order to stay, I believe, because Bouchard's the other contract.
The salary cap will go up. The salary cap will go up, so like it's not like nothing crazy. It'll help them, but like at the same time, like it's like McDavid is worth 15 plus a year. That's not sugarcoating it. That will handicap the fuck out of you. Your team, best chance of winning is next year. And if you don't figure it out this offseason, how you're going to go about it, you're in big, big, big trouble.
I'm interested to see where this goes, but I don't think that we're going to have this resolved. It was just the biggest conversation coming out of there. Moving on, let's talk a little bit of UFC, because it's not necessarily been on our minds recently with the playoffs going on, but we have a big fight this weekend, a couple big fights. We have a lightweight title fight as the main event. Flyweight title fight is the co-main event. Brandon Royval will be on this card. We've talked about him a little bit, but let's start with what everybody's there to see. Topuria versus Oliveira. Oliveira, the greatest finisher in UFC history. Topuria is the new name on the block, and really making a name for himself. How excited are you for this fight? And looking at things here, Oliveira's plus 350. Topuria is sitting at minus 500. So this is quite a big spread if I was looking at this
Look,
from
I
what I
can't.
know.
I'm not betting on this. Let me make that very, very clear. I can't bet on it. I'm in season. I can't be betting on it. But I would throw the fucking house on Oliveira. Oh my god, that's a juicy line. That is a very, very juicy line. For a guy that is as I've seen Oliveira have those type of lines before and been on the wrong. Michael Chandler, I believe, was a minus 250 against Oliveira at one point. I believe he was a minus, or he's had opponents where these odds have been crazy against him. Topuria is a great fighter. He is one of the best in the world for a reason. But he is going up in weight classes. I remember, like if you want to circle back to the last time this type of fight happened, it was Volkanovski versus Makhachev. Volkanovski looked miles and miles smaller than Makhachev. I understand Makhachev is a different animal, but going up in weight classes, Topuria is a smaller guy. He's not a big dude. He's a smaller guy, a little bit taller than Volk, but and Oliveira is just a master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and knows how to choke you out, knows how to tap you on the feet. Topuria's strength is his power, and using his power to a guy's chin like Oliveira, who does not get knocked out very easily, should be very interesting.
I see that line. It's big for a guy that likes to finish people as much as Oliveira does, because that's basically how almost all of his fights end. Looking at the flyweight title fight in the co-main event, Alexander Pantoja and Kai Kara France. Pantoja is the defending champion there. You got any thoughts on those two? I know that flyweight's not necessarily.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't paid attention to this division since DJ and Cejudo. So like I don't. No, I know Kai Kara France has been around the block for a while. So that's about as far as that goes, though.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of running out of contenders. They have another flyweight fight there. I know that the UFC continues to talk about how well they're doing, and I know that they're not struggling for money or anything like that, but I do feel like we have to have the conversation of with TKO. We can have a conversation with another organization that we like that TKO also owns, but it's like everything is spread out so much that yes, this is a pay-per-view. Yes, this is a number next to it. Like that used to be a big deal. It's not necessarily as big of a deal. You have one really good fight as a title fight. The other fights might be entertaining because everybody's really good, but I don't have the time to invest in 600 fighters from everywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's gotten difficult, and it's especially the way the fights have been going because we're seeing less finishes, we're seeing less excitement. That's highlight plays. MMA is such a beautiful sport, and the way it's built, and the way it goes, and it's a reason why wrestlers can beat wrestlers. It's a reason why boxers could beat wrestlers, and the wrestlers beat boxers. Like you don't know, it's all the different styles all coming together. But the problem with they're having is like, and this will go to our most unwatchable players, kind of thing that we'll talk about later. It's like nothing against the Dagestani wrestlers. They're winning. They're going into fights to win. They're not going into fights to knock people out and to win in dominant fashion. They're going into I can win it this way. I can win it that way. Like that's how they go into each contest. They're not going to a contest. I'm going to choke like Khabib talked about when he beat McGregor long ago. I'm going to take McGregor into the deep end and not let him come up for air. Right? That type of mindset in fighters is really lost. It's really been lost, and that's the biggest problem. It's like in the middle of its heyday, and why it got so much traction is the McGregor knockouts. It was the John Jones chokeouts. It was the and like they've done a great job of marketing some players, but this is the problem that other leagues have figured out that the UFC has not. When then that wave leaves of star talent leaves and is no longer here and no longer at the top of the cards. How do you build that next generation? I remember back to and this is no slight to that era between Couture and Tito and Iceman and all of them, but compared to that era until up until McGregor and John Jones era, there was a lull. There was a lull in viewership. There was a lull in people coming to the events. There was a lull in all of that during that middle. Right, it took them a long time to find that next grasp at a star, and that's the hardest part. Is the UFC needs to find that grasp at a star. Because John Jones just retired. You're not going to get that John Jones, Tom Aspinall fight. So what's the next big ass what's the next big Aspinall fight? Because frankly, if you ask a normal UFC fan, like a casual, like you and I don't watch every fucking weekend.
I
love
have
UFC.
no idea who the next
I don't
guy
know
in
who the
line
next
would
guy
be.
would be. Exactly. You have no idea who the next guy would be. And that's good. That's the unfortunate part about it because they don't market it like that. So it's that's where we're at with the UFC. It sucks that we're at the way. I mean, you and I will still watch the fights that we love to watch a fight, and we'll still watch undercard fights because we're fucking sickos like that. Because there's nothing else to watch during the summer besides PLL. So like it's very very frustrating.
Speaking of PLL, that's a good transition, Nico. Let's talk a little bit about what happened last week and look into the San Diego homecoming weekend for the Redwoods after their bye week last week. In Baltimore, New York beat Philly 17-9 in the opening game. Boston beat Maryland on the Saturday 13-12. New York won 17-9. That's big for the Atlas because they were struggling a little bit. Then on Sunday, Denver beat Utah 13-10, and Maryland got one out of their 2 home games, which is basically what you're looking for, 20-6. So they put on a show for their home fans in the last game. I know that it was your off week, but since you had this weekend coming up, I know that there's no stoppage of watching and paying attention. What were some things that stood out from last week in the Maryland homecoming?
I mean, the first couple was, I thank the Lord I wasn't there. It was 110 degrees on the turf. So it's nice when I can avoid that. Obviously, San Diego is probably going to be hot too, but at least I can jump in the water, so it could be a lot worse. Baltimore, the weekend was very interesting because it started off great with the first couple of games. Maryland really put up really Maryland Boston game was incredible, back and forth. Boston really just showed how good their young depth is and how good Colton Maxey is and how good the midfielders show up when they need to, and a strong defense for the Cannons is as good as it ever has been, and Colin Kirst is just incredible in that. So that's really helped them overcome and be one of the best teams in the PLL. Frankly, the odds-on favorites to win the whole thing at this point in the year. When it comes to the next matchups, like the Water Dogs and who do they have? Water Dogs and
this weekend, the Water Dogs have their game. You guys on Saturday.
No. Who do they have this past weekend?
Last weekend they lost to the Atlas.
So the Atlas are a team that needed to win. The Water Dogs obviously split the homecoming weekend last weekend, so that was a big game. The Denver Utah game was last weekend was incredible, absolutely incredible. The Archers went on a 20-minute run where they didn't score a goal. A 20-minute run where they didn't score a goal to end that game. And the Denver Outlaws go on 8-0 run to end that game and end up winning 13-10. That was a great game. The chaos may be in chaos, no pun intended, because they are they're in a situation where they're now minus 18 goal differential. Unless you can start stringing some wins and some teams in the Western Conference can start losing, that is a tough hill to climb for playoff wise. And then this weekend, like I said, we have 2 great tests. The Denver game, we played them first game of the year. Obviously, we won that game, and I think we've gotten better. I think they've gotten better. I think that's 2 ways to look at it. It's like we added Sam Hanley, who was on their roster week 1. We added Sam English, who's a rookie, third overall pick last year or this past year, who had Canadian visa issues, who's not playing. We're going to add the tall tree, probably, in Cole Kastner, who looks like he'll be back this week. This team's going to be a lot better than what they faced in week 1. We're facing a better team. It's a lot better. Jared Bernhardt, the NFL player turned PLL pro, went off on Saturday and had himself a game. And it's going to be a tough test, is all I'll say. But the weekend should be a lot of fun. San Diego is always a pleasure. The fans really turn out well. And like I said, you can't beat it when you can go to the ocean at any point in the weekend. If you have an hour off, I'm like, let's go jump in the water for 30 minutes and then come right back. And it's one of the best parts of the weekend. So I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I can confirm that is a little bit different feeling than we normally get being mountain boys out in Colorado. When I was in Virginia Beach, and I was like, I can just go put my feet in the water for a little bit and walk on the beach. Yeah,
it's my favorite weekend by far away outside of Denver. Outside of being home, it's my favorite weekend by far. Like, fans are great. It's lit up in green. The view, the stadium's incredible. The weather's perfect. Can't beat it.
Games taking place this weekend at Torero Stadium in San Diego, California. Denver versus the Redwoods. Outlaws versus Redwoods. First game on Friday. Archers and Atlas will round out Friday night, and then Saturday, Philadelphia, and California. And then finishing the weekend, Boston versus Carolina. The California Redwoods and Philadelphia Water Dogs will be on ESPN proper. So anybody with access to a television screen, any bar that you go to will have
ESPN
access.
Plus too. If you have
It
ESPN
is
Plus,
also
you can
there
watch it.
if you are that dedicated of a sports fan. But I'm just saying, if you're anywhere, you just say, hey, put the PLL on.
Exactly.
And
If you're sitting at a bar on Saturday midday, just hanging out with buddies, tell them to throw on the lacrosse game.
And I
That'll be
know
fun to
that they
watch.
will, because I was at Buffalo Wild Wings not long ago and they were playing Australian League Rugby. So that was, they will put it on. As long, if you can bet on it, they will have it. Looking at the standings real quickly, Eastern Conference, we have Boston at 3-1, Maryland and New York, or excuse me, Maryland is 2-3, but they have a higher goal differential. They have +12. New York is 2-2, and they have a +2 differential. Philadelphia right now in last place with a -3 and a 2-2 record. So Eastern Conference is kind of jammed up. We already mentioned it. The Western Conference kind of sitting pretty with the way that the Carolina Chaos have come out so far this season.
It's
We're
a
still
three. I mean, the number one seed is up for grabs between three teams. It's very, very going to be intense season, especially now going after this weekend to be All-Star break. If we can win 2 in a row and be in the driver's seat at 4-1, boy, that would be huge for us. But obviously, the goal is to come out of this weekend 3-2 and after with a 1-1 record. So the Western Conference, the Archers are very good. The Outlaws have been hot. It's going to be a who's who in the West.
looking through it quickly. I don't believe there's been a team that has won both games in their homecoming. So
There's
if you could
not,
do
no.
that, if you could do that, be the first one to do it on the season, that could be. I feel like that would be a good sign.
If you win 2 games in your home weekend, you are a legit contender. I will say that right now. Most teams walk in and be like, we need to go 1-1. Right? If you could take 2, you are a legit team in this league that is going to be a reckon to be with come playoff time.
Anything else before we move on? We're going to get into our top 5 most unwatchable athletes.
I mean, look, like it sucks that we're in the off season, but like I said earlier, it's the off season mode. We're gonna have a lot of free agency stuff to talk about. We're gonna have a lot of NFL stuff to talk about here soon. Everything's gonna be filed in shortly.
We'll start having some dumb debates. I think I want to start a debate segment again, and not necessarily conspiracies, but bring up some topics that we haven't touched on in a while, because I know that we can go back and forth. The Last Dance was on the night after the NBA Finals. So we were watching it too, and the first thing my dad said, he sat down, he's like, "Oh, LeBron would cry if he had to play in the Jordan era." I was like, this is, yep, we're in the middle of the summer, aren't we? There ain't nothing going on.
They were doing that during the NBA Finals, okay? They were talking about LeBron during the NBA Finals. You don't think that these conversations haven't started all season? They never end.
They never end. And this kind of leads nicely, because I feel like the most unwatchable athletes are also the ones you would hate having people talk about. And these guys, they're unwatchable. Some of mine are a little bit older, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, if I don't want to watch you, I have a PlayStation now. I just bought a PlayStation Portal, so I don't have to even have to be sitting in front of the TV. I can kind of play wherever I want to. So if I don't want to watch, I don't have to watch. But I was thinking back to times where I felt, more obligated. So I'll throw my list up here first. Of my teams, my most unwatchable athletes, starting with former UFC heavyweight Cheick Kongo. I know that he was a lot of fun to play with in video games.
I didn't think you hated him that much for him to be number 1, but
it's his fights were just really boring until the very end, and it was a lot of just leaning and getting gassed. It reminds me a lot of that UFC event we went to where Mark Hunt was in the main event, and we were just watching guys huff and puff and not be able to do anything. I remember a lot of Cheick Kongo fights like that, or ending in disqualifications because he likes to kick guys in the nuts and doesn't apologize for that. So he was my number 1. My number 2 might be a surprise for people, but I did not like watching Shedeur Sanders. It was, if that team wanted to be successful and not just be built for Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders to have good seasons and be in the Heisman race, they could have won a Big 12 championship, could have been in the playoff conversation. They decided not to do that, and Shedeur Sanders is the reason why. So I put him pretty high on my list as well.
You and 30 NFL GMs agree. Like, I mean, I was a little bit surprised.
I feel like it's 31. I feel like it's 31 because even the Browns GM probably didn't want to make that deal. I don't even know who the one team would be, but it wasn't anything like that. I truly didn't like the way that they set up the team around him. They could have been so much better if they just, took a look at anywhere else. The receiver room was incredible.
O-line
Don't
was
run.
horrible. Running back
Well,
room
yeah,
was
the O line
horrible.
was bad, but you're throwing the ball 50 times a game with a bad O line. It's not a good
Line.
recipe.
No, it's not.
Number 3 is kind of an oxymoron because we don't see him play all that often. But Chris Bryant,
Yeah, because I mean, he hasn't done it. Like I could, if I cared about the Rockies so much, he would be number 1 for me. So, but at this point, I could give less than 2 shits.
It's because he also got his first season was the first season after the Arenado deal, and that was just like the.
Why did we not?
I know that we got rid of. I know that we got rid of Bridich after the Arenado thing, but bringing in Chris Bryant, paying him all that money, and for him to be out of commission most of the time because his back hurts because he can't sleep in the hotel beds, the rock hard 5-star hotel beds with cotton linens.
Yeah, it's not. It's boy, Chris Bryant, like he's one of those guys that like if he never left Chicago, he could have been a Hall of Famer. But these last 4 years, man, his stock of all timeness has just gone straight downhill.
Of those Cubs that have moved on to other teams, he's by far like tarnished his legacy.
Well, I mean, Baez has been horrible. Rizzo was actually decent. He probably had the best career past the Cubs. But I mean, it's not. Oh yeah, Schwarber. I forgot about Schwarber. Yeah,
Schwarber and Rizzo were like pretty good even after they left. It wasn't a 1-year thing. Chris Bryant was a 1-year thing. That was all that was. Floyd Mayweather, he's on this list, and I know that he would like to be on this list because that was his whole thing. He wanted everybody to hate him and want to watch him get beat up. It was frustrating every single time. I don't like him out of the boxing ring, so I always wanted to watch him get beaten up. But inside of a boxing ring, he's very incredibly difficult to beat up. It's just not going to happen. And yes, I paid for the Pacquiao Mayweather pay-per-view, and no, I'm not over it yet.
Yes, still I paid for the Mayweather McGregor pay-per-view, and I'm still not happy about it.
I did not pay for that one. I did see it on social media, so I feel like my eyes bled a little bit there. Speaking of my eyes bleeding, I know that I wasn't a fan of the Broncos when he was the quarterback, but Russell Wilson, it was just really disappointing, and it was hard to live in Colorado when he was the quarterback here because everybody was in a pissy mood all the time. And I get it. Like, your quarterback sucks. And he almost ruined my birthday. Almost ruined my 25th birthday. I was in Vegas. We're sitting in the Caesars Palace Sportsbook, Monday Night Football, Broncos, Chargers. Get to watch Eckler. And that was the most boring game because Russell Wilson sucked so badly. And I was just like, oh, this is hard.
One of the worst football games I've ever seen. The only good thing that ever came out of Russ is like the other teams were good during that time, except the Rockies. That's like he left, and all of a sudden the other teams have been struggling. So, look, he's on my list. If there's one spot that had to be duplicated, it was Russell Wilson. So he's on my list. But my list, it's some of these. You know what? Call me kept the haters. I don't tell me. I hate the way they do things. Okay, James Harden, the most unethical basketball player to ever step foot on the floor. The reason why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does what he does the foul baiting, does the draw contract because of this man right here. James Harden is the number 1 foul baiter in NBA history. He is a horrible watch. He hucks threes. He doesn't play defense. If you are a basketball fan, if you're trying to get into basketball, do not, for the love of God, watch James Harden. I have not watched a James Harden basketball game since 2019 that he was not playing against the Denver Nuggets. I'm dead serious. Just refused. Say, I'm not watching it. They have not watched it. And then this is going back to his Rockets days, up until the last couple of years of his Rockets days. Then he goes to Brooklyn. Didn't watch a single game of him wearing a Brooklyn jersey. I don't even know what number he wore that year. Didn't want to watch him in Philly. Look at how horrible that was. And now he's doing the same thing to the Clippers. It's a revolving door. Sometimes you got to realize, okay, maybe it is my fault why we suck. Rockets never did anything. Brooklyn never did anything with you, Kyrie and KD. Philly didn't do anything with you. Clippers Didn't do anything from you, Jimmy. What's the one out? What's the one constant in the scientific experiment here?
His beard.
Exactly, James Harden. That's why he's the most unwatchable player in the NBA in sports history for me. That's why he's easily number one. The rest are kind of because I'm being a hater, but I don't care. It's my list. Fight me on this. Number 2 is Makhachev. I don't like the way he fights. I'm sorry. Sorry about it. Don't like the way he fights. Don't like the way Bilal fights. Don't like the way Murad fights. Are they great all-time UFC fighters? Absolutely. I'm not denying that. Makhachev is an all-timer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greats of that division. He's fucking laying on top of dudes for most of the rounds. Like it is the way it is, and nothing against the Dagestani wrestlers, but like the UFC has a major problem when it comes to people being satisfied with taking points as opposed to going for finishes. Because there's no one in the UFC that does it better than Islam Makhachev in getting points and making sure that he gets that extra point for the round and that he gets that top time or a time on top minutes up or round by round up there. And it's Makhachev. And like I said, so that's why he's number 2. Number 3. I think this should be on everyone's list. If you guys, first of all, this man shut the world down 5 years ago. Did you forget about that?
No, I didn't.
Rudy Gobert. The whole world. Look, obviously he wasn't the whole reason why we shut the world down, but it started everything.
That joke was that ended up being just. I don't think I've ever seen timing that bad in my life.
It's the biggest what the fuck and where were you when you found out this news moment in frankly not even NBA history, US history.
World history.
Because I'm sure English team, I remember maybe you're even talking about COVID 5 years ago now, right? When you're talking about this century and 2020 and what happened, what was the moment where the world was like, wow, this is getting really bad? Oh, it was the moment where the NBA stopped the game in warm-ups and made a dude get locked in their locker room because he had COVID-19. That was literally the moment. And that's not the number one reason why I hate him. Obviously, he's a horrible basketball player. He's not a horrible basketball. He's a great defender. But he's actually has a hideous jump shot. He thinks he's better than he is. He gets put on posters more times than not. He's a great all-time defender. And people have the audacity to put him above the Kimbe Mutombo when it comes to all-time NBA defenders. He has not scratched the surface. He could not hold a jockstrap to what the Kimbe. Rudy Gobert nowadays is what the Kimbe was 10 times more back in the 90s and in the late 80s and the early 2000s. Okay? So don't you fucking try to compare the two because he's number 3. Number 4, Russell Wilson. That's enough said. I don't need to be a dead horse of this one with Jimmy because Jimmy hit the nail on the head. He's the worst quarterback to ever play for this franchise. He was seen as his big-time savior, and he turned into one of the worst all-time players in Broncos history.
Not if, but how many Super Bowls are we going to win with Russell Wilson?
I remember, and look, we had the show the second he signed, and I said this is one of the greatest moments in Denver sports history.
Oh yeah,
we re-released an
episode.
We can go back on all those.
We re-released our episode where we were celebrating the cup, and in the beginning we were talking about Russell Wilson signing. We're just like, wow, great athletes. Like Peyton Manning wanted to come here. DeMarcus Ware wanted to come here. Now Russell Wilson wants to come here. Great athletes want to come here. I was like, oh no.
Oh God, just it's the meme. I don't even know what movie it's like. Maybe it's Interstellar where the guy's banging on the Stop it! Do not do the trade. Stop it! You're gonna be painful from this. So
George, trust me.
It's that's number 4. It could have been number 1, but the other ones I think fit the mold better for Russell Wilson. Number 5, Jordan Bennington. Watching his meltdowns may be my favorite thing to do. I will say that.
I was going to say, and I love watching him get beat.
It's unwatchable because when he's good, it's annoying, but when he's bad, it's fun. But it's still like, fuck, this guy sucks. Why does everyone think he's so good? And that's why he's unwatchable on my list for me. Because during the 4 Nations Cup where he beat the U.S., all I was told was like, Bennington's a big-time goalie. He's this great goalie. He's a top 5 goalie in the NHL still. And then you go back to the regular season, and he's not any good anymore. He still sucks. I'm just like, this is why I hate watching him. Because you think he's good, and then he turns into shit. It happens that quickly with him. So that's why he's number 5, Jordan Bennington on my list.
It's sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
So my list, it goes Harden, Makachev, Golgert, Russell Wilson, and Bennington.
Bennington. Yeah. I hate all the guys on your list, and I thought about it more. I do hate watching Jordan Bennington in international competition.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
just saw him across the ice in the Olympics, and I went, shit.
It's like I don't have it in me to hate Cale McCarr or Nathan McKinnon, even though they were Canadian colors. I had to find somebody, and it happens to be the guy in the net. So
him in the net and Sam Bennett, because Sam Bennett's a forward for them. I can get behind hating him too. I don't hate him as much when he plays for Florida, but when he's in those Canadian colors, it's ugly.
Always a couple haters. That's what summer's for. I'm sorry. Couple of haters. Like Enzo Amore said.
Couple of haters.
Couple of haters.
I'm getting caught up on Raw because we were late on getting the Money in the Bank. We were doing some other things, so we're catching up on Raw now. I'm ready to watch that Jey Uso Cody Rhodes fight match.
Boy, oh boy, the CM Punk promos. Oh, Jimmy.
The reverse pipe bomb.
Oh, I could the families with that shit.
And then he said it at the end. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to rip off your promo. That was
wrestling is real. However, I will say, look, we're not going to get political on the show, but the next pay-per-view is in a tough part of the world right now, so I don't know what they're going to do with that. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, maybe I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it should
be. There were some changes. There were some changes to the card that were made. And there were also some changes in the world today. The gas prices went up almost $1 overnight. So things did happen. Before we go down that path, let's finish things up. Talk about best things that we saw this week. My play of the week, since we just have to describe them, it ended up not meaning as much. It could have been Siakam in the tunnel doing the. Did you hear the Thundertaker nickname? It was pretty good if they would have won.
It was very good.
If they would have won, it would have landed even better. But I could have gone with that. I decided no. When he posterized, I can't remember which guy. I think it was Hartenstein. Big steal by Halliburton in Game 6. Tosses it up to Siakam, and Siakam slammed it home. That was the best play of the series that I'd seen up until that point. That was the point that I was like, shit, I'm going to look like an idiot because I said the Pacers are going to lose tonight.
Yeah, that was the Thundertaker. It was a great nickname. But unfortunately, Siakam was nowhere to be seen in the second half after Halliburton went down. So that was a tough scene. My play of the week, I'm going to give it to my boy RP3, Rob Pannell. He just became the all-time assist leader in pro lacrosse history, and a guy that was on our team last couple of years, a guy that I got to know pretty well the last couple of years, and his wife obviously was on the Palm, so got to meet her as well, and a guy that I have a lot of aspiration or admire so much, and he broke the all-time record with I don't remember the number now. It ends with a 3 though. I think it's like 563 or something like that career assists, and he had a great dime over the top too. I believe it was Aiden. It might have been. It was one of the most Rob Pannell assists ever, where he passed it on the crease and Brandow just finishes it with a beautiful finish right on the crease. So shout out Rob, good old RP3, becoming the all-time assist leader.
Rob Pannell. Let's see if I can get his career stats. Yeah, there we go. Assists. This is only here we go. That was just the game stats. I was like, that doesn't say what you said. 296 assists.
Was it? No, that must be just the PLL. I think it's more than that.
I don't know if they've.
Maybe because he had a couple extra ones in the. Let me look it up because he had a couple extras in the second game because they had the back-to-back.
That was according to PLL to the PremierLacrosseLeague.com, which everybody should check out because it is a one-stop shop when you're trying to do stuff on the fly, but I don't know if they added in.
You're right. It is 296 because he broke the record 293, and that's where the 3 came from with his last name, and they thought it was sick that he did that way. But yeah, he does have 296. So congrats to RP3.
Now moving into player of the week. It's funny, your player of the week is going to go into my bench warmer of the week, but go ahead. Why is Tyrese your player of the week?
I mean, this was an incredible run from Tyrese. Like I have to give him his flowers. Like I know with what he did for the Pacers, 4 game winners in a playoff stretch with 4 shots, 4 go-ahead shots to either tie the game or take the lead with 2 seconds or left. This entire playoff run is insane. It's absolutely insane. And he was the heart of that city, heart of that team. And like I said, a guy that everyone listed as he was listed as players voted and coaches voted as the most overrated player in the league. He was listed as that, right? And he not single-handedly, but he willed this team, it willed this franchise to 7 games against the best team in the NBA all season long. A team that had I believe the longest odds were 35-1 chance to win the NBA Finals. He had them 1 game away. He had them 1 game away from doing so. And like I said, his stat line all playoffs long, 19 points per game, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Like, it was so damn good. Like, he was the heart and soul of that team. It really sucks the way it ended for him, because now it's going to affect next season for him too, which sucks even more. So Halliburton deserves his flowers, and a guy that was on the Olympic team last summer, who didn't get a lot of play time, was going head to head with one of the best players in the world, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and going shot for shot. So he deserves his flowers.
I hope that when he comes back, he's able to play the way that he does. Because I was going to say he's overrated no more. I would say he's very much rated the way that he needs to be, and he could be a thorn in a lot of people's side if he's able to get back to that level. Speaking of thorns in the side, he wasn't a starter. He very rarely made the first 5 rotation. But when the Oklahoma City Thunder looked like they were getting out of sorts, I'll say, even though the Nuggets won Game 6 against the Nuggets, they put Caruso on Jokic, and that started to frustrate Jokic. Caruso was the guy that they put to frustrate whoever was hot at the time when the starting 5 couldn't get it done, because Shai's not a great defender. Their defense struggled. Caruso went in, and Caruso was able to kind of right the ship. He was the veteran presence. And I like his story too. Like, G League affiliate, always trying to work his way onto a roster. He now has won a real title, a real true NBA title with fans in the building. Even though we just talked all that time about no pageantry and winning an NBA championship, there was still more pageantry than when he won in the bubble. So I feel like he's got to be happy too. And yes, I love the memes, the meme videos of the feeling when you win your first NBA title and it's just a close up of Alex Caruso's face. I'm like, I know that's not right, but that is funny. I do like that.
I was so close to just putting Elmer Fudd's picture on that graphic and Space Jam and just saying that's Alex Caruso, because that's basically
that's all, folks. Bench warmer of the week. I'll go first because mine ties into your player of the week. But calf muscles are my bench warmer of the week. Bad playoff run for calf muscles, but it's also now kind of become a trend. Like we said, it's not just the NBA. Aaron Rodgers started with a calf strain before he popped his Achilles on that first game. He was struggling with injuries there. If your calves are sore, I feel like this is a bigger deal even now. Like, I'm not worried about people blowing out their knees. If you tear your Achilles tendon because your calf muscle is strained, that is a much bigger deal than blowing an ACL at this point. We need to start worrying about these things. So calf muscles are my bench warmer of the week so that everybody can start worrying. And if your calves are sore, take a rest day.
And this also ties into the calf muscles, excuse me, because the ESPN NBA coverage this postseason was horrifying, absolutely horrifying. Let me hit a couple things on the head. First of all, our championship with the Nuggets had the last time of the GOAT crew, right? We had Mark Jackson, we had Jeff Van Gundy, we had Mike Breen. We had the bangs, the Mike Breen yelling bang when a big shot hits. Right?
I'm playing a game. Sorry, we're breaking down the NBA. I'm playing a game.
Exactly, break down solitaire, and like Doris Burke had a rough showing. And
I don't think that she's a very good. I shouldn't speak on this because that's an industry that I would want to get in, but I have not enjoyed her as a voice of the big moment.
I am all for women getting positions in sports. Like, I love it, but I think what Doris did set them back about 10 years, because she decided to have a full conversation about the French and German War of 19 whatever when Hartenstein was at the free throw line. And I was like, what am I watching? What am I watching? It was like, and then there was one line I remember in Game 7. I was watching and I was like, Doris Burke, someone was at the free throw line for the Pacers. She was like, I think it was Bennett Mathurin. Bennett Mathurin, he's sitting at the line. So if he really wants to cut this lead down to 20, he has to hit both free throws. I was like,
what?
that you're so yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Captain Doris and Captain Doris. Obvious. I was like, the game I love announcing wise gotten bad, and look, that was just the tip of the cap because the ESPN NBA coverage is horrible. Stephen A. Smith was playing solitaire instead of watching the NBA Finals and decided to talk about it like he was actually watching the game. Then you had circumstances where look at what happened at the end of the game. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Congratulations on your first ever NBA championship. Here's 20 minutes of coverage of watching Halliburton cry in the tunnel with his Pacers fans walking around. Not the Thunder celebration, by the way. Let me take 10 minutes out of the celebration of the Thunder and not watch the highlights of Jalen Williams hugging his wife, right? Of Chet Holmgren going nuts with all of his family from Spokane. Like, not Hartenstein's kid and his wife hugging him and crying, and not Shea and his kid and hugging him, right? None of that. Instead, let's focus on following TJ McConnell out of the tunnel and having a cry and have a moment with his mom where his mom's basically like, get this camera out of my face. Because that's what they decided to focus on for 5 minutes. I kid you not, it seemed as though they were the ones losing the NBA rights to the deal, but we're stuck with them next year again. I hope NBC doesn't fumble this next year because TNT was our saving grace. And now the TNT guys are going to get stuck over the NBA. They're going to try to throw Perkins on that panel of Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq, and I'm just and Chuck, and I'm just be like, please, God, what did I do to forsake you? Like, why did we make something so beautiful, so hideous? Like what?
They didn't want to move over to NBC and give them the finals coverage.
No. ESPN has the finals coverage. NBC has the second TV rights now, and it'll start next year. That's why it didn't start because TNT was still technically part of the deal this season. So it's. Boy,
no, I know, but I mean, like for next season, the first season that NBA is back on NBC. It makes sense.
It's the same thing with the Super Bowl. It's like you get it for a certain amount of years, or maybe
they rotate every year.
Or maybe either way, I think that they don't rotate. ESPN's had it for ever, as far as I remember. I don't think TNT has ever had it. So maybe it's just been an ESPN thing for as long as I remember. So it's super frustrating. It's super frustrating.
I'm not looking forward to the next NHL Finals because that is going to be an ESPN production. And
I do think the NHL coverage has actually not been horrible.
I did not like last year. I know that everybody watched a lot more last year because it was on ESPN and it's harder to watch TNT because not everybody has it on their package. But I don't like the way that I would much rather just watch TNT. If NHL was just on TNT every single year with Biz, with McHugh, Anson.
They also, except Turner Sports now decided to fork all over that money to tennis and baseball. Because that's what everybody's doing this summer is watching tennis and baseball.
Well, Ted Turner does love himself some Braves baseball.
It's just so annoying. And look, honorable mention. I didn't want to bring this up because this happened a couple hours before we started recording this. But and I would love to have a job with them in the meantime, so I'm not going to shit on them that much. But Josh Kroenke brought up the possibility of trading Nikola Jokic by himself today. And I about walked over to his house myself and with a pitchfork and fire. I just no one brought it up. No one asked about it. He was asked a question about the second apron. He was like, "Well, if we get into the second apron and we have some bad injuries, like we're gonna have to have a conversation that I don't want to have."
The wrong person gets injured, and very quickly you're in the scenario that I never want to have to contemplate. And that's trading number 15.
And why the fuck is that coming out of that man's mouth? Seriously.
You want to see some of? I have some of the Reddit replies.
Oh, I'm sure they're like,
this fucking guy sucks.
Luka and probably it's Jokic and Lakers edits, AI edits. It's probably Jokic in fucking Golden State colors. It's probably Jokic in Celtics colors. I'm serious when I say this. I will never. I think I may not watch basketball for a very long time if that happens.
They do try and rationalize it by saying we're misinterpreting him. He's talking about if you go into the second apron and then you get an injury.
You're right.
I think what he's talking about,
because the most logical person to trade is the best player in your franchise history, not Michael Porter Jr., who's getting paid. Because if an injury happens, because we all know who he's talking about. It's Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, right? If an injury happens to one of those two, let's not consider trading one of those two. Let's just go straight to the fucking bullet in the head and trade and talk about trading Jokic. Or trading Aaron Gordon, who has also the fourth highest paid money. Or how about Dario Saric getting paid $6 million to play 12 games this season and sit there and twiddle his thumbs during the playoffs? Zeke Naji, fifth highest paid player on the team, also twiddling his thumbs during the playoffs. But hey, Jokic's contract could be a problem. Oh, I just want to throw up.
There is a very good preview for what we're going to have coming for the rest of the summer.
I kid you not, Jimmy. I love you to death. I love doing this show. I will boycott sports for a very long time outside of my job if that happens. I kid you not. And the Broncos may be the only thing. And I might have to stop doing the show. I'll be honest with you. It's a possibility. I'll be honest because I literally cannot functionally think about talking about the NBA if Jokic plays for the Lakers. I seriously cannot. I functionally would not be possible.
Hopefully that.
And don't worry, it's functionally not going to be possible unless Nico Harrison gets in Josh Kroenke's fucking ear, and whoever Ben Tenzer and whoever the other guy's name is figures out, you know what, fuck it, let's just do what Nico Harrison did, and we'll get Cooper Flag. It doesn't work like that, buddy. Jimmy, I can't believe I'm getting frustrated over Nikola Jokic trade talks in June. This should not be fucking happening.
This is why we're here. This is why we need sports. This is why you need this show. This is why everybody needs to follow, subscribe.
I cannot emphasize this enough. The Kroenkes are the most successful, dumbest owners in sports history.
Blind squirrel finds a nut.
Like I said, they are very successful. Unbelievable. They do a great job running a business. But they are some of the dumbest. They need a PR team. I'm serious. They need a PR team. I could be the PR team. How about let's not bring up the word trade 15 or trade Jokic, trade Nikola, or the word trade anywhere circled around number 15 at all in any press conference ever, and then we'll be fine. Because now I'm getting ESPN notifications while we're doing the fucking show about, is Jokic on the move? I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is not how I want my summer ruined. What are we doing here? It's July 4th next week. I don't want to be my summer being ruined. Come on. What are we doing, Josh?
It won't happen because they'll never get close enough to the second apron for it to matter. It'll all be fine. We'll continue doing this show. Everybody needs to remember to subscribe, follow at FEOTB Pod, leave a like, a comment. We'll be back for more summer content. We'll have plenty of stories to talk about because the NBA is what it is. NHL offseason, NFL getting ready to come back. But this, episode 236 of the Far End of the Bench podcast for myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Nico Bryant. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.